we put rankings, and it was not how we were trying to intend it to be. These are Joe and I's power rankings, not ratings. Teams, even though in head-to-head, but we think are in the top 10 based off of what we've seen over the season and especially through last week. Joe, I'll let you go first here.
Number 1, Georgia. Number 2, Michigan. Number 3, Florida State. 4, Ohio State for me. 5, Washington. 6, Alabama. I moved them up. I didn't even realize I did. And then 7, Oregon. 8, Mizzou. 9, Texas. And then 10, Oregon State. That's what I've got there.
Could you hear me chewing ice?
Yeah, I could.
I'm so sorry. Normally I mute myself.
You're good.
So unprofessional.
You're good. Well, considering the amount of gaps I've had, I don't think we can really call anyone unprofessional. All right, what's your top 10?
Okay, I'll come back to yours.
Yeah, do yours.
Here's my top 10. We pretty much are the same. The only difference that we have, and we can sit here and fight over semantics, I do have Alabama above Washington, but you have them at 5. I have them at 6.
Yeah, let's not do this again. We do it every week.
I don't really think it's worth fighting. But Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, Ohio State, Alabama at number 5, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Missouri, and Louisville. You go first. What do you hate about my? I mean, dude, we are so far into the. I think we're fighting over semantics here. Okay. I have Louisville at number 10. And what's funny is that you got Oregon State at number 10, even though you've been bashing them.
Well, because they're a good football team with multiple ranked wins. And I know that the UCLA win is not as sexy as it was before because they're going to be
like
a 4
the Toby Keith song. I ain't as good as I once was.
They still have been a well-rounded team. And the Arizona loss looks really good for them right now. Their only bad loss they have is Washington State. So their record's fine. And if they have 3 losses, I don't think they deserve, if they lose to Washington, to even drop out of the top 10. Who else are we willingly putting there unless they get blown out by Washington? I think it's a fair argument that they belong still there. I'm sorry, Blake, but I really don't like Louisville as a top 10 team, man. I look at their schedule. I look at who they've beaten, who they've barely beaten. They have had a really soft schedule. And you know what? As a Notre Dame fan, I'm the first to admit it. That Notre Dame win does not look that good anymore. Notre Dame is a back half of the top 25 team, and I would even argue might not even be worthy of being a top 25 team. I think that they have been so underwhelming, and that win for Louisville does not look as good as it deserves to look. That's all that they've hung their hat on. That's what's gotten them this far. Their record against NC State, a close win against UVA, who they almost lost to a freshman quarterback in Anthony Calandria. I just don't like it.
Beat North Carolina a couple weeks ago. They've been playing really well. I know
they have 2 wins. We're out on UNC because of that game.
Football, you know that they've played everybody closely. They've been a pest in the ACC side. Do you not remember them beating North Carolina a couple weeks ago? Because I do.
UVA beat North Carolina with Tony Muskett, who is their starting quarterback and an experienced player. Anthony Calandria, a freshman.
Okay, sounds good. So they had no film on a guy that they faced.
There is film on Anthony Calandria. He's gone out there against Maryland and thrown like 4 picks. He's okay.
You say all the time that good teams find ways to win. They're coming off on a short win. That's a 7-win. That's a 7-point swing game. They beat Virginia Tech by 31. They beat Duke by 23 and blanked them. I will give you the very bad Pitt loss. It was really bad. Okay. And I can't defend it. Here's what I will say. I don't have a lot of backing here. They're 9-1.
It's fair.
And I do. And when I watch him, so I told my good buddy, Bill King, been talking college football for over 30 years. I'll take a screenshot of it and send it to you after the show. Joe, did you know in June, I sent him a text message. I was breaking down Louisville film and some of the guys that they had returning. I love the way that they play. Look, I'm a little biased here. They play fast. They play physical. They give a shit. They're young. They're developing. I think they've gotten better at positions. I just like Louisville. And I do think that there's got to be some, rewards here for being 9-1. I don't care what conference you're in. They're still in a Power 5 conference because you know who else is playing a lot of these teams?
Who?
Florida State. And I'm just going to be real with you.
But they don't have a bad loss, though.
Sure.
Florida State doesn't have a bad loss.
I'm at 10. But they're still beating up on a really, really bad ACC right now. ACC might be the worst conference in the country. They are not good.
Yeah, they're the worst P5. There's no debate there.
There's no no, the Big 12 is better than them.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with the notion that you're saying here that their record is good enough to put them in the conversation. But the furthest I'm planting them firmly at 11, and I'm not moving them any further. I think that they've hit their ceiling because of that Pitt loss. If they had beaten Pitt, my conversation's out the window, and they might even be up further than this where I've placed them. And I agree with you. I like the way that they play. I think that Thrash is a really nice receiver. Plummer has played well. They've got some nice pieces, but they're not going to beat Florida State. They're just not equipped to beat a team like Florida State. They're not nearly as athletic.
And I'm not making that debate.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, did you watch Florida State last week?
Yeah, they showed some deficiencies.
This is the third game. All right? Listen to me now. I like Florida State a lot. How many games have they had under 100 yards rushing?
That's a good point. Here's one thing, though, Blake. One of the things that you always bring up to me when we talk about, me propping up Washington is you like to say you don't think that they would beat certain teams. I don't think Louisville beats Ole Miss. I don't think Louisville beats Tennessee. I think that there's a plethora of, they don't beat Penn State. There's a plethora of
they beat Penn State.
Louisville's not beating Penn State. There's no way. That defense.
You know why? You know why?
I can't block those guys.
I need nothing else. You know why?
Why?
James Franklin ain't winning shit. I'm done with James Franklin.
Okay, well, so you're just a little hurt from
yes, I'm pissed off. James Franklin, I had faith in you. You no good Rudy Poo. Joe, Michigan did not throw the ball but once in the second half, and it was a pass interference, and they lost.
You bring up a good point. You do bring up a good point. I do think, though, that Penn State beats Louisville. I think I could probably sit here and pull a bunch of other teams that would beat Louisville. I want to talk about, though, I think that you and I both dropped Texas, or was I the only one who dropped Texas?
Where did I put Texas again?
You had them at 8. I don't know if you moved them.
Oh, yeah, I moved them. I moved them from 6 to 8.
I think losing Jonathan Brooks is so significant.
Torn ACL, if you hadn't heard, out for the year.
We saw the impact of him going out of that game against TCU. It was so bad that they came back multiple scores and almost came back and won that football game. They almost lost to TCU. They needed Jonathan Brooks, and Cedric Baxter's really talented, and I love him. But I just can't rely on a true freshman to be the player that is a defining player in an offense that has been leaning on their run game for success recently.
I'm going to pull this up because I was looking at this today, actually, because they're a 9-1 football team. So they played a very bad TCU team, Joe, right? TCU is not a good football team. I know that Quinn Ewers threw for 317. I know Jonathan Brooks, who's not going to be there, had 104 yards rushing and 2 TDs. He's done for. The problem, is Josh Hoover had 302 passing yards. They got run on for 101 yards. Yeah. The Williams kid, Savion Williams for TCU had 164 yards in the air, or receiving, excuse me. That shouldn't happen against this TCU team. They're not it's one thing for Florida State to be within a 1-score game of Miami. I think Miami has tons more talent than what TCU does. TCU got beat by Colorado week 1. I know teams get better, all this kind of TCU's just not good. And so I do think that Texas has got to be careful. But you know what's interesting, Joe? In the past, when Texas would have lost this game 3 years ago, right?
That's a good point.
They wouldn't be able to overcome stuff like this. I feel something coming with Texas. Now, if they win out, I'm going to tell you the truth. And we got about 5 minutes here. We talked about this last night. What, 7, 8 teams that can make the playoff? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think Texas, if I had to rank the teams, I think Texas is the one that I think could get upset first. Like, because Washington would have to lose twice. I don't think Oregon is losing again. Like, I really don't. I don't know, man. I don't like what I'm seeing out of Texas last couple weeks.
Out of the teams that are in this equation, they have shown the most signs of as you're talking about getting upset.
Akon
Like
and
completely laying
LG.
an egg.
Look, I'm not the only one in this boat.
I don't know about Iowa State is just
I know, but
not a good
But I'm
team.
telling you, dude, they have been playing with fire the last couple weeks. And I promise you, I will take back every bad thing that I've ever said about Matt Campbell and his stupid hat and his stupid bill and the way he folds it that stupid way. If he beats Texas, I will give him credit. I will be on the Matt Campbell train from here on out.
I'm laughing at the thought of you praising Matt Campbell over the negative things that you've said over him. But I don't think it happens. I think the Texas Tech game is going to be the one. If they do get upset, it's going to be that one. Or they lay an egg in the championship game.
Very possible. God, Oregon State, Oklahoma State, you break my heart.
I don't even know who's
Cut
up
the
next.
cut the damn mullet. It'd be Oklahoma.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, right now Oklahoma State's still second, and they have the
Oh, yeah, 'cause
tiebreaker.
one of the losses is South Alabama. That's right. The
Yeah.
question is, does Oklahoma State lose again?
I mean, the
I'd
way that
love
they
to know who
played.
Oklahoma State plays all the way out.
They play Houston and BYU, so they're. I mean, assuming they don't completely crap their pants.
You're not
He's asking a
cool
lot.
You're not cool until you pee your pants.